Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Netherlands. Apologies for the delay here between the previous stream and this one as we were getting the lobby set up for the restart, but we are back up and running here for the stream, getting ready to dive right into the race. We've already had qualifying here for the Division 2 Championship. You can check that out in the previous stream, but of course maybe after this, because we are diving into the race right here, right now. Going to be jumping into the formation lap and then the race. I think we're going to have a bit of a moment. The drivers here, nice and sunny this time around, going to be looking to get their setups on, get that tire choice sorted out before we jump in to start the formation lap and then of course the race. So the top 10 will be forced to start on that same tire, but they do get that slight bit of an advantage given that they do get a fresh tire rather than the previous worn out qualifying tire that they had before. But bottom 10 or bottom 6, I guess I could say, in this situation, they still get free choice of tires, so we'll get to see what they opt to put on. Let's see if I wonder if everyone is doing soft tires or if we're going to have anybody opt for the medium tires. We will find out in just a few moments as time is ticking down. Hopefully everybody got their setups up and running here, as now very quickly Simi has left the session. That's not what you're hoping for here. The session is counting down once again, hopefully for real this time, and we will see how this all plays out. And I'm excited here. It's going to be 36 laps around Zandvoort, around the Dutch Grand Prix, and they are going to be very exciting laps here. Lots of overtaking opportunities, lots of battling here, especially in the Division 2 Championship where we see battles left, right, and center. But here we go. Mark is leading the way on the formation lap from pole after qualifying. Let's put on the detail for the tires. It's his teammate Cohen in second, right behind. So an Alfa Romeo 1-2 to start the race, with Laparta in third, as he's oh so used to being here. Going to be trying to potentially snag that lead for himself off the start. Then we have both racing points of Demorts and Synchro, P4, P5. Very good qualifying for the racing points, as they are going to be looking to snag up some very good points here. KTM Sweden up into 6th after setting that good qualifying lap right at the end of the session, overtaking Jordan, who's in 7th. Dark in 8th, so starting on the soft tires is Dark, so a little bit of uncharted territory, I would think, given what we're used to seeing the Red Bull driver do, but I'm sure he can manage. With Mivako Nole, the championship leader, down in 9th on the soft tires, and Potgieter in the Haas, rounding out the top 10. Everybody in the top 10 qualified on those soft tires, and everybody starting on the soft tires. Poor man's pole position, El Biku, Michael Fierez in P11. He opted for those medium tires here, with Lorenzo also on the medium tires driving for the Ferrari. Chris Nerazzurro in 13th on the softs. Ephraim in 14th, he's on the softs. And then we have the likes of Simi and It's Nazareth. They're both putting on the hard tires, so they're going to be looking to go much longer than the rest of the field. Really rely on track position and slap on a set of softs, I would think, right at the end of the session and start absolutely flying with that reverse one stop. But we'll have to see how it plays out, as they are going to take a little bit more time to get some heat into those tires, I would think. But as we have Mark, Cohen, Laparta, and the rest of the gang coming around the final corner now, taking up their position on the line, we are just about set for 36 laps around Zandvoort. It's the Dutch Grand Prix. It's the ISRL Division 2 Championship Series for round 12 at the Dutch Grand Prix. It is going to be a good one. My name is Fallen Monkeys, taking you through the 5 red lights and the entirety of the race. So, here we go. The engines are revving. We are just about ready to kick things off here for the Dutch Grand Prix. Up to 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. and they're off. We are racing here, and it looks to be a good start from everybody, and Mark getting a very good start off the line as he takes the lead here. A little bit of battling side-by-side action. You can see 2 wide, 3 wide, but everybody makes it through turn 1 decently well. Here comes the top 3 sort of separated, but right in the middle, this is where you've got some battles. KTM Sweden almost looking to go around the outside. He's already split the racing points and looking to overtake the second one of D-Morts here, right very early here in turn 1. Dangerous spot to do it. The tires might be a little bit colder, but for the most part, everybody has got off the line very clean. Taking it cautious here. Mivako falling down the order. That's not what you want to be seeing here, as possibly just losing out 1 position, as everybody's staying relatively single file, buying their time, not trying to force a move. You've got 36 laps around this circuit, but you see right ahead, this is Jordan now trying to make a push on Synchro. Oh no, that was KTM Sweden going for a spin there on lap 1. He is falling all the way down the order, right behind now his teammate, as he's going to have his work cut out for him now. A costly mistake, maybe a little bit of contact from KTM Sweden, and that is the first incident of the day, only bringing out a yellow flag, nothing more here, as Nazareth now getting past Lorenzo. Lorenzo down in 14th, as I'm not seeing any wing damage on that Ferrari, just Nazareth getting a much better run, getting a much better jump. Here comes Mivako though, Nole in 9th, as he's putting a lot of pressure on Nick Potgieter to go up into 8th in this midfield pack. But currently the top 3, there's a little bit of a breather between a lot of them now. Don't trust the timing tables here, as they're gonna get sorted out. But at least as far as the top 3 is concerned, they're getting into a little bit more race pace mode here in these early stages. Not looking to leave any room for one another, but maybe not try to force some overtakes where they can't. But Mark still comfortably in the lead, about a second ahead of his teammate Cohen, who he is now probably feeling pressure from Laparta just a tiny little bit, but half a second behind is Laparta. Now right behind Lorenzo, putting some pressure on Nazareth, but KTM Sweden is caught up right there behind, as he is looking to continue his charge back up the field here. As you can see now, he might try to make a move on the Ferrari, riding the slipstream, going down the outside, but has to change lines quickly, side by side, gets caught up into another incident. Does KTM Sweden? That's further damage. Simi has left the session as he is in the pits. So not what he was hoping for, getting a pit stop done and disconnecting once again. He's going to have to get those connection issues sorted out. We would hope sooner rather than later, as that is a huge time loss. Does get back into the lobby now, but has his work cut out for him. Now let's keep an eye out here on Jordan, as he's in these early stages, putting some pressure on Synchro, riding right behind, maybe hoping to make a lunge here with the help of ERS and DRS. He used some DRS, used a tiny little bit of ERS, but this DRS straight is more for closing up, less to try and overtake unless you're very, very daring on the move. But Jordan buying his time, being a little bit patient. Lorenzo gets ahead of Nazareth elsewhere on the circuits. Nazareth goes for a little bit of a spin. Here comes Jordan now, practically pushing Synchro around that final corner. Very easily makes the move done down the outside here, as Jordan trying to come back but was not able to do so. That's Michael Fierez. El Biku taking a pit stop, as he is going way down the order now into 14th. Nazareth pitting as well, as he's in 15th. Simi very further behind, and Nazareth very quickly retiring out of this race. He's taken a very early end of this race, as he is not happy with that strategy after maybe getting caught up into an incident, taking wing damage, and realizing that those hard tires was not for him. Simi, though, equally with those issues ongoing, he's retired out of the race as well. I don't think he's able to get those connection issues sorted out, and I think he preferred to call it quits rather than deal with the in and out. And Nazareth now, or Nazareth and Simi, the two casualties here early on, as Chris Nerazzurro and Mivako battling it out. That was Chris Nerazzurro making a nice move on Mivako, on Nole, and Mivako down in 11th. Nick Potgetter and Dark having a little bit of a battle, and that's Potgetter getting ahead. Cohen and Laparta going side by side now as all this is happening. They're still side by side through turn 1. What a view this is. It's going to be Laparta having to go the long way around. Demort's now right behind looking to get involved. They settled to go back to single file, but a lot happened there. Now we're going to see a move here. This could be dangerous if they're not careful. Maybe trying around the outside. No, doesn't have enough traction to keep that Haas around the outside of Cohen. So Cohen hanging on to that P2, but this battle is now really picking up here as Laparta trying to make a push. He wants to charge for the lead, but he realizes that he is going to have to get by his the teammate of Mark, Cohen, who is allowing a nice buffer between Mark and Laparta. This gap now 3.3 seconds on lap 5 of the Grand Prix. So Laparta really going to have to push. Right behind, though, it looked as though I was seeing a Synchro now putting a lot of pressure on Jordan. Jordan hanging on to that P5. But here in these early stages, we might start seeing some overtakes with the help of DRS. Laparta trying to close up, but Cohen getting a little bit of a better run. Synchro and Jordan now going side by side. Jordan being forced to the outside as Synchro gets the inside line. And Synchro gets the overtake done. Back up into 5th. Finds himself right behind his teammate. Jordan, though, not giving that position up without a fight as he's trying to make a move, but actually maybe a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit allows Synchro to maybe breathe just a tiny little bit easier. Synchro's teammate, though, Demort's up into 4th. He's still putting a lot of pressure on Laparta, riding his own race. He has a lot of ERS to work with, and I think you might be hoping for Laparta and Cohen to have this battle out. Laparta really not having a lot of ERS to work with in his cockpit here in these early stages, as he's been using a lot to try to keep up and overtake. Demort's, on the other hand, he's got a whole bunch to work with. So if Laparta finds himself in a mistake, or once these pit stops happen, if Demort's wants to stay out a little bit longer, he does have some tools in the toolbox that he can use to try and really grow that gap. But right behind them a little bit, here comes Ephraim now on the Renault. As he's coming around the final corner, gets that slingshot on Dark very easily with the help of DRS. A little bit of ERS use gets ahead of Dark to go up into 8th. The Red Bull driver falling down into P9 now as he's going to have to try to close that gap back up. But maybe conserving the tires a little bit more. If you want to make that one stop work, you do need to take these softs just a little bit long. You need to take them to lap 11, possibly lap 12 if you're feeling adventurous, but minimally lap 11. And unlike in Div 3, so far, no safety cars coming out, so these are going to be, at least as of now, these 7 laps, a full pushing race. And you can see Demort's already having a moment there as he's struggling for grip. The initial grip here on those tires have started to wear out. Now right behind, KTM Sweden putting a lot of pressure on Nole. And now this brings up my question, what the heck is going on to Mivako? What is going on with Nole as he is defending for dear life on KTM Sweden? But the leader in the championship, Mivako, in that Ferrari on your screen right now in a lowly P12 and being absolutely pressured by KTM Sweden and looking to be on course to maybe lose out on that position, as not where we're used to seeing Mivako. Normally we're used to seeing him battling for the lead of the race, as he's been one of the more consistent drivers. But it looks like here at Zandvoort, really not feeling it here around this circuit, as he's down in 12th, holding off KTM Sweden, but at least for the time being, doesn't look like he's able to close up too much a gap to his teammate, who's in 11th, and he himself needs to close up a gap before seeing the likes of Chris Nerazzurro and possibly the rest of the cars here in this train. But for now, it is still Mark leading the way. Cohen in 2nd, although he has taken a time penalty here. Laparta in 3rd, Demort's right behind in 4th, so the top 4 has not changed one bit here. as we are ending lap 8, about to start lap 9 here. But here comes KTM Sweden on Mivako, getting so close, gonna try down the inside, but that's not a corner that you can really make an inside move unless the traction is there. But I would expect to see on this final exit here, if he can get the pace, get the run, with a little bit of help of DRS, should be able to get the overtake done on Mivako. But Mivako just having a lot more straight line speed, but losing out in the corners is Nole. So I think that might be just possibly a lack of setup there for, not lack of setup though, but lack of control of the setup for Mivako. As you can see, the time loss in the corners. KTM Sweden gonna try a move down the inside, turning into the outside. Gonna have to go the long way around here. They're still close together. Very, very close wheel-to-wheel action, even though it is only for P12, P13. But it is still Mivako in 12th. KTM Sweden having to settle right behind. But for how long now, as I think it's only a matter of time before KTM Sweden gets a move done. Tries to lunge it down the inside there, that corner, but doesn't get the initial exit. Gets part 2 of the exit, going the long way around, needs to leave space there. Now has the inside line and does get the move done on Mivako. Up into 12th goes KTM Sweden as he can start that push once again. But right as I switch over, we've got another battle here. Potgetter trying to go down the inside of Jordan. A little bit of contact there with the wheels between Potgetter and Jordan, and that almost opened the door for Ephraim to get right back ahead, as now Mivako coming right back on KTM Sweden. But I'm keeping an eye out on this battle a little bit further ahead for P7, P8, and P6 here, as very, very close battles everywhere on circuit now, as nobody is giving anybody any room to breathe in these early stages. But we're still very early, still 26 laps to go. And if this is the battling we can expect to see for the entirety of the race, this is going to be a good one. Already here still, we have D-Morts putting pressure on Laparta, and Synchro now catching up quite a bit. He's going to want to get involved here in this battle, I would think, and might want his teammate to get out of the way sooner rather than later if that overtake can't be done. But we have a safety car here, as that's Chris Nerazzurro out of this race. What happened to Chris Nerazzurro in the Mercedes? It looks as though if I ride on board with Elbiku, possibly right on the exit of the hook corner here, maybe getting a little bit too anxious on the exit there. You can see that that's exactly what happened, I think. A little bit too quick on the gas, riding the curb, not evening out that steering wheel as much as he should, and that's a second Mercedes out of this race as Chris Nerazzurro's into the wall, and this allows Elbiku to take a pit stop. The likes of Dart, KTM Sweden, Mivako, they're all taking their pit stop. Ephraim, Jordan, Potgetter as well. But the top 6, they were a little bit too far gone. They're having to go one extra lap around the safety car here before they can take their pit stop, and maybe not what you're hoping for here in this stage, because this is essentially the pit stop window. But we'll have to see if this will affect the order in any way. The saving grace, of course, is that everybody is still on Delta, so they might be able to get off squat-free. I think Mark will be okay. It's more a matter of Cohen, Laparta, D-Morts, and even Synchro here, as it's going to be a little bit close. But here we go. It is the pit stops here. Top 5 taking their pit stops. Lorenzo in 6. He's coming around. He's on the medium tires, so might look to go a little bit longer here. And yes, he is staying out on those medium tires. So possibly not necessarily taking the lead of the race. That is still going to be in the hands of Mark. But with the double stack, Laparta gets up into 2nd. D-Morts is out in 3rd, and you can see Lorenzo in 5th actually, as Cohen comes out in 3rd. I thought he was going to be stuck a little bit longer, but the double stack worked out for the Alfa Romeos. They did create enough room, but it is Mark leading the way, Laparta in 2nd, Cohen rounding out the top 3. So big news here, Laparta does jump Cohen in the pits as he is now in P2, and he can really take this battle to Mark here, as they are probably going to be taking these hard tires to the end of the race, barring any possible other incident we might see. But everybody here on the hard tires, other than Lorenzo, who's staying out, committing to his initial strategy on those mediums, and El Biku, Michael Fierez, who is also putting on a fresh set of medium tires. And that is essentially committing to another pit stop, I would think, as I do not think those medium tires can go 24 laps here around Zandvoort, or that is going to be a tall order to ask. But putting on the medium tires now, then you can put on a set of soft tires, and you do have the quickest tire for the restart when everybody is close together. So possibly a strategy call from El Biku, realizing he's near the back. Once the grid order gets caught up, if he's on that quicker tire, he might be able to try to get a few overtakes done, and then essentially not make that pit stop all that bad when he does have to take it. Put on a set of softs and do it all again, possibly to try to gain those positions back that he can overtake here once we go back to green flag racing, which hopefully will be at the end of this lap, as everybody should be caught up. But we'll have to see, as it is Mark leading the way. Not what you want to see is severe collisions. That's Synchro running into Ephraim, getting involved into a collision between those two drivers. Ephraim, the driver ahead, Synchro, the driver behind. Costly mistakes here, not what you want to have happen. Let's switch over to Synchro. No damage, it seems, on that car, but you do need to be careful of the driver ahead and the driver behind under safety car, or else you're going to get caught up with those types of penalties, and those are very much so penalties that you can and would like to avoid at all costs here in the race. But on lap 13, coming through sector 2 under safety car here, down to 13 runners, as we have the likes of Chris Nerazzurro, Simi, and It's Nazareth out of the race. Simi and Nazareth, they retired into the pits. Chris Nerazzurro getting caught up in an incident, and which actually brought out the safety car that is out right now. But speaking of, the safety car is coming in this lap. So Mark becomes the de facto leader of the race. He becomes the de facto safety car, and when he chooses to go, we will be going back to racing here. The grid is forming, coming around the final few corners. Let's wait for the restart, and we will head back to green flag racing for lap 14 here at Zandvoort. So here we go. I think now he's got the restart done, and it looks as though he did catch Laparta napping just a tiny little bit. Cohen, on the other hand, he's right up ahead. A little bit of moving here, as you can see Cohen going around the outside. Ephraim trying to make a move on Lorenzo, but this battle for the podium, they touch wheels a little bit here, as they're both struggling for grip here on this first green flag lap, and this is exactly what Mark wanted leading the race, to see this battle for P2 and P3. But further behind, it looks as though everybody getting through cleanly. I think Jordan losing out on a few positions, but now Laparta is going to hold on to the P2, survives the initial onslaught. But look at this, in the midfield, 2x3. My goodness, that was nearly 3 wide there coming into this corner, as it's Demorts, KTM Sweden, Mivako getting involved here. They're going side by side. Mivako's finding his way around past Demorts. So what happened to Demorts is he's running very high up. He's got wing damage on that racing point. So that's what happened. He got caught up into an incident somewhere and falling way down the order. That is not what you want to have happen there, as he was running in a very solid position right around in 4th, but now all the way down in 13th, and might need to take a pit stop to fix that wing. But here comes KTM Sweden now, getting a run on Dark. You saw how close he was. Is he going to try down the inside? No, does not have DRS to help him out there down that long start-finish straight. So we'll be holding on to P10, Dark in 9th. Jordan similarly on his battle with Potgetter stays in 8th. Potgetter holding on to P7. But this has brought the grid right back up, so we're going to be really seeing a lot of battles here, and a lot of close racing like we saw just one lap ago. Synchro putting a lot of pressure on Lorenzo, running in P6. Lorenzo up into 5th after staying out on those mediums, but he is going to have to take a pit stop at some point within the next few laps, I would think, and he might be regretting his choice of staying out. As you can see, Synchro getting very, very close, but Lorenzo still hanging on with those 14-lap-old medium tires and still keeping up with Ephraim, who's right ahead there, but you can see how close Synchro is getting, just in not necessarily opportune places to make the overtake. But if he can get the traction here, can Synchro, he can possibly find his way around that Ferrari. Here we go. It looked as though Lorenzo was going to pit, just trying to break the toe. Let's ride on board as they're heading into turn 1. Is he going to go around the outside? No, Lorenzo hanging on to that P5. The strategy breaking the toe does work here, as Synchro is still remaining in 6th. A lockup into the first banking. There goes Synchro, as now he is going to continue the charge right behind Jordan, putting pressure on Potgetter. What a race this has been so far, and this is only going to get better as we still have 20 laps to go here at the Dutch Grand Prix here at Circuit Zandvoort. It is Mark leading the way. He's been able to create that gap, build that gap back up to 2.3 seconds on Laparta, who is still fending off Cohen, but I think that has taken a bit of a breather, this battle has. But this one on your screen has not. Synchro and Lorenzo still battling as hard as ever here on lap 16, about to start lap 17, and maybe Synchro now with the help of what should be DRS, as Mark sets the fastest lap. Here comes Synchro now. Look at the pace difference as he opens up that rear flap very quickly. Gets ahead of Lorenzo as he falls down into 6th, and now this can open up the Potgetter and maybe open up this battle between he and Jordan if they want to, as I think Lorenzo might be going a little bit slowly on those 16-lap-old medium tires now after having to battle Synchro over the last few laps. And you can see Synchro now already creating a little bit of a gap here in the straight line speed, having that clean air. Jordan, though, right behind Potgetter, keeping Nick Potgetter honest, but not going to try to force a move, I don't think, as might try to wait until they can both get past Lorenzo. But time will tell here, as Potgetter, if he can get the exit, might be able to try to push a move. Clipping the gravel there is definitely not going to help. Shows down the inside very quickly back on the racing line, though, as he gets practically pushing Lorenzo around this corner here. But speaking of battles, Cohen now coming right back up on Laparta. He's going to have DRS to work with, and we'll see down the start-finish straight. Can the move be done? Nick Potgetter getting ahead of Lorenzo, as Lorenzo diving into the pits. And that means the likes of Jordan Dark, KTM Sweden, Mivako, Michael Fures, they're all passing here Lorenzo, as he is putting on a set of hard tires. So he's going to be on slightly fresher hard tires than everybody else. But it begs that question as to why not pit when everybody else did, rather than take this full pit stop under safety car. But questions will be answered. Here comes Mivako, as he made a very nice move down the inside of Elbiku through Sector 1, the swooping section of Sector 1 there. Very difficult to get an overtake, very easy to create a collision, but Mivako trusting the car, trusting the driver he had alongside him to give him space, and that was a very solid move, as Mivako finds himself up into a top 10. Elbiku, Michael Fiera, is down in 11th, but he's still battling on those medium tires, to be fair with him, as he is not going to give that position up without a fight, and he might be able to take it right back with the help of overtake, with the help of DRS, as they're coming around the final corner here. It's going to be Nole on the defense. Here comes Michael Fures. Here comes Elbiku going the long way around the outside. He gets the initial overtake done. Can he keep the traction? Yes, he does. He does keep the traction. Goes right back up into P10, back into a top 10 position. But let's see if we ride on board with Mivako. Is he going to be able to close that gap back up and try and overtake similarly to what he did a lap ago? I don't think so, as he might have used up his opportunity last lap to try to get the overtake done and hang on to it. But El Biku's still on those medium tires. He's still feeling very racy, very pacey on those medium tires, and he takes that position right back. So, Mivako going to have to regroup, going to have to close that gap right back up. But speaking of gaps closing up, here's Cohen right back on Laparta, 3/10, and I think now he's going to try to get this overtake done once again. He's going to have DRS. Let's ride on board, and here we go. He goes purple in Sector 3, a personal best. Has to brake early to not overshoot the corner. They're going side by side through turn 1. Who is going to hang on to this position? More wheel touching, as this time it looks as though Cohen gets it. Oh no, and that was Ephraim going a little bit hot. Not expecting Laparta to slow down as quickly as he did. And that was Ephraim taking some wing damage there, as you can see, missing an end plate on that Renault, and that might that is definitely going to hinder Ephraim, as Synchro now is going to catch right back up and through Sector 2, which is a very downforce demanding sector. This might allow Synchro to close this gap right back up and try to push for an overtake here on Ephraim. And look at that, very quickly going around the outside, slots back into the racing line, and Synchro finds himself up into 4th. Laparta, though, down in 3rd, as Cohen in 2nd, and Mark is still in the lead of the race, and does not appear as though anybody can catch him, as he is absolutely cruising here in this stage on lap 21 out of 36. 15 laps to go in this Grand Prix here at Zandvoort, and so far it is a dominant drive for the Alfa Romeo drivers here, as they are absolutely killing it here, running P1 and P2, although props to Laparta was hanging on to P2 for quite some time, but just lost out on it, fell down, got overtaken into P3 just one lap ago. But this is now where we start seeing the chess games come into play, I think, for a lot of these drivers. Maybe less trying to force an overtake, but looking to possibly more just plan when they want to get this overtake done, so that way they can get it done, create a gap, and not allow possibly any opportunity. As, oh no, that's a spin. That's KTM Sweden in the wall here as he's coming back on track. He gets a little overzealous on the acceleration out of the corner before the DRS straight at the end of Sector 2. Down in 11th he goes, and that is wing damage, and that is going to be another pit stop. But you can very comfortably now, I would think, slap a set of mediums to go to the end of the race. So the strategy is not all lost, but it is a lot of time lost, given there is that pit stop, there is that wing change that is going to happen there. But still a long race, still anything can happen here at Zandvoort. And Jordan now putting pressure on Potgetter once again. Jordan does not have much ERS to work with, only down to about 10-15%, I would say, for Jordan here, as Potgetter having a little bit more to work with, putting a lot of pressure on Ephraim, who, to be fair, is hanging on as much as he can with that broken end plate. He is doing all he can to try to keep these drivers behind, but it seems like now it might be only a matter of time. You can see how close Potgetter is. Will not be able to get an overtake done going into that corner section, but I do think now down the start-finish straight, we might see Ephraim fall victim to not one but two overtakes here if he's not careful. You're already seeing the pace difference here on the exit, going on the outside line, as now Ephraim diving into the pits. He is going to switch his tires, switch that front wing. But Jordan now right behind Nick Potgetter, and now Potgetter has no support, no tow, no DRS for this lap, so he is going to have to rely on clean air and pure pace. Jordan, on the other hand, he can rely on some slipstream to try to take him around the circuit, keep up with Potgetter, and maybe try to overtake, get that P5 for himself here. As quickly on lap 23 out of 26 here, coming through Sector 2 is Jordan, as he's closing up the gap on Potgetter for a top 5. It is Mark leading the way. The gap now 5.7 seconds between Mark and this teammate of Cohen. And Laparta now keeping that gap to within a second, but of course right around 1 second. So definitely not pushing for an overtake as much as you might want. Maybe in a little bit of tire conservation, a little bit of fuel conservation for Laparta, as he might try to make a push here in the later stages of the race, as we are down to 12 laps remaining of this Grand Prix. And here on, are just finishing their 13 laps remaining, about to start their 12th lap remaining, is Lorenzo and Demorts, as they are having just a little battle on screen here. Battling for P10 is Lorenzo and Demorts. Demorts putting a lot of pressure, getting a nice exit here on those mediums. He's going to get the inside line, and with the help of DRS, does get the overtake done. Lorenzo thought about moving back towards the inside as his counter move, but did not have that ability to close that gap back up, just going back on the racing line. Demorts up into 10th as he's trying to charge up the order here on those medium tires. Lorenzo down in 11th, finds himself outside of the top 10, but if he can keep up with Demorts, they might just both be able to close up enough of a gap to maybe push for some other overtakes, some other battles later on. Mivako being the next driver on track in P9. But further ahead, Jordan still sticking right behind Nick Potgetter as they're about to start lap 25 here of the Grand Prix. And let's see if we ride on board. Is Jordan going to try an overtake here? He's going to try down the inside. Has to brake early. Doesn't want to overshoot the corner. Potgetter brakes just a tiny little bit later there. As he does hang on to that P5, but I think Jordan's starting to feel the urge to get this overtake done. He's just going to have to stick a little bit closer to Potgetter through Sector 2 and even more so Sector 3. It is a very difficult sector to try to get some overtakes and stick close to drivers with the dirty air, but Jordan's going to have to be perfect here if he wants to get this, if he wants to get that overtake done and find himself into a P5. He does see the penalty that Potgetter has, but it doesn't mean much, as here with 11 laps to go still, there still is loads of time to take more penalties if you are not careful. But you can see Potgetter just gaining time through sectors 2 and 3, which then Jordan just closes right back up in sector 1. So you can see the different setup types, how it affects each driver. And there you go. Once again, the gap is up to around 9/10 of a second. Does have ERS, but no, does have DRS, excuse me, not using any ERS as he doesn't have much. Potgetter just a tiny little bit more, but not much more, but just a little bit further ahead of them, just as we're waiting to see this. Synchro now around half a second behind Laparta, and I think Synchro might be trying to make a push for a podium position here in the Racing Point. That would be a story to be told for sure here. Has some penalties, but if he can force the likes of Laparta into a mistake, he might just be able to snag that podium. But it's going to be a war of attrition as they have 10 laps to go to the end of the race. But we are down to the final 10 laps of the Grand Prix, and very much so closer to the end now than we were in the beginning. Let's see Synchro doing a good job just sticking with Laparta here, coming around the penultimate corner, approaching the final lap now. And let's see, will he be able to get the overtake done here down the start-finish straight, riding on board. Not much to work with in terms of ERS, and I think it's going to be crucial for Synchro to try to conserve some of that ERS in this battle. Laparta as well, as they're right around the same amount, but Laparta even more so as he's trying to close that gap up on Cohen. Cohen not much ERS to work with, but in a little bit of a better position than the two drivers behind him, and Mark in the best position, about half a tank. Ephraim though now flying past Lorenzo on those soft tires after that pit stop, so he gets his wing change, sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and now closes up and overtakes a driver, and has 3.7 seconds to close up on Demorse if he wants to see a top 10 in his name. And that would be a bit of a drive from Ephraim there if he can pull that off. but he has time to do it. It's only lap 27 here, as back to this battle for the podium. Synchro still in 4th, Laparta in 3rd, and it looks as though this is kind of evening out a little bit. Tiny bit of ERS is being used from Synchro, tiny little bit of ERS is being used from Laparta here, as they're both just running right around a very similar pace here in this stage of the race on those hard tires. Trying to find that limit between pushing as hard as they can and conserving those tires, making sure they can bring them to the end of the race, because we still have a bit of a ways to go here. We are closer to the end, but you do got to make sure those tires last you to the end of the race here. But on lap 28 out of 36, Mark leading the way. The gap is now 7 seconds between he and Cohen, with Laparta rounding out the top 3. We have a yellow flag, as that is Potgetter out of this race. Let's ride on board with El Biku. That's a full safety car, as Potgetter, excuse me, you see that car there riding the curb. Let's get another view from Mivako taking this corner here, maybe clipping that inside curb, and once you get on that inside curb, you're a passenger, you hit that wall, you are out. But here on lap 28 out of 36, we are down to 12 runners, and we are under safety car here at Zandvoort. This is completely going to throw its race on its head. Mark is pitting. He's going to be putting on a fresh set of soft tires. Cohen taking his pit stop. The top 4, they're all pitting. Jordan pitting. Dark is pitting. El Biku probably going to be pitting as well, as I think every driver other than I would think Ephraim is probably going to be pitting for a fresh set of soft tires here, so they can be on that quickest tire to the end. But ladies and gentlemen, get ready. We are going to have essentially a 5-lap sprint to the finish. Rolling start here to end the Dutch Grand Prix here in Division 2. And Mark has got to be worried just a tiny little bit. Laparta still in 2nd, as Cohen back down in 3rd. Going to have to get an overtake once again on Laparta. But for Mark, this isn't necessarily uncharted territory. He's done this once before, and we know that he can definitely do it again if he's able to. But here on the soft tires, this is changing things a little bit. It's not like it was the hard tires where drivers maybe take that extra lap to find the heat. He is going to have to be on point. He is going to have to nail the restart here under safety car. Once it does happen, probably at the end of the next lap, I would think, once the grid does close right back up and we can get back to green flag racing. But this race has been blown completely wide open here, as now penalties are going to hurt even more than what they were beforehand, given the grid is all completely bunched up together. And I am speaking to the likes of Cohen, who has a 3-second time penalty, Dark, who has a 3-second time penalty, D-Morts, who has a 3-second time penalty, and KTM Sweden, who also has a 3-second time penalty. So these 4 drivers named out here who have those penalties, they are really going to have to work very hard, or they might risk losing out on some positions here because of these time penalties. Either that, or they can possibly hope for a prayer, hope that another driver takes a penalty and they can get ahead of them, neutralizing those penalties as well. But we'll have to see how this all plays out. The grid has caught up. I would not be surprised, like I said, to see us go green to start lap 31 for a 5-lap sprint to the finish. But for now, we are under full safety car after the accident of Nick Potgetter right in this section of the track right here. Brought out the very, very late safety car here. Came out on lap 29. The grid has essentially all caught up, other than KTM Sweden, who's a little bit further behind. He was on the mediums and took an extra pit stop to put on those soft tires. But here we go. We are heading down the back straight of DRS. KTM Sweden, he's going to be close. Only 6 seconds left. So maybe we see a late safety car call to come in. Nope, it isn't going to be late. It's going to be exactly when you'd expect it at the end of Sector 2. So we will be going racing. We will be getting back to green flag racing to start lap 31 out of 36. A true 5-lapper sprint to the finish. Get ready, everybody, because it is all going to kick off here as Mark leads the way. He is going to be the de facto safety car. Let's see when he goes. Laparca, you are going to have to be on. It looks as though he's coasting now, and I believe he is going. We've got penalties that have been given out here at the worst possible moment. That's not what you want to have see. Here comes Laparca now. Thought about making a lunge to try to take the lead on lap 31, but doesn't close up. Right behind, side-by-side battles. That's Synchro getting ahead of Jordan. That's Dark going for a spin as he falls down the order, going wide on turn 1. He's back on track now. No wing damage, but that is a Red Bull way down the order now here, as Mark definitely feeling the pressure though up ahead, as Laparca this time around, he makes no mistakes off the restart, sticking right up close with Mark, and can definitely have a little bit of juice to work with here, as he's got a better tank of VRS. Cohen lurking in the shadows there, but he's gonna have to watch out his Synchro behind. But even for Synchro, Jordan putting some pressure. Demort's now right behind me. Vaco right behind Nole. But right behind there, KTM Sweden going for a little bit of a crazy bomb there. Lorenzo absolutely missing his breaking point, as maybe it was Lorenzo who went a little bit deep. KTM Sweden up into 10th. Lorenzo down in 11th, but we caught that just oh so barely there, as we saw somebody completely miss their braking point into that corner. But here comes Cohen now on Laparca, as Laparca had to back a little bit up to Mark, but maybe with the DRS being active at the end of this lap, all Laparca needs to do is stay close to Mark, and he will be in a decent position here, as we'll have to see how this all plays out. KTM Sweden so close to Demorts. I thought they were going side by side through this section, but they did get it narrowed out. But it looks like KTM Sweden, he's trying all he can to try to push his way up the order. He wants to get past this traffic. He wants to snag some points for his driver standings, for his constructor. Demorts as well. He's going to try. Oh no, there's contact, as Demorts was trying to go back down the inside of Mivako, but KTM Sweden had his nose right there, and that is going to be wing damage for KTM Sweden. Not what he was hoping for, as Demorts just did not realize that KTM Sweden was there, I don't think, when he went back towards the inside line, and a little bit of an accident. KTM Sweden falling down losing ground a little bit. Here comes Demorts now. He's gonna have to go the long way around. Does not have DRS to work with, but it might not matter, as he sticks the traction. They're going side by side, and it looks as though for now it is going to be Demorts up into 8th. Mivako down in 9th position, as now he's really gonna have to battle this dirty air if he wants to make a push back to Demorts. But it looks as though for now on lap 33, Demorts in 8th, Mivako in 9th, Elbiku running in 7th right now. But penalties could change. But here in the podium, it's still Mark leading the way. Laparca now in 2nd as he's hanging on to that P2. Cohen in 3rd, but Synchro doing a good job of keeping that gap, as he might be in a net podium now, as Cohen might fall down the order with thanks to that penalty he has here this late in the race. That safety car really not helping out Cohen all that much in his bid for a podium, but still a few laps to try to close that gap, but might need a little bit of help here, as he is closing up to Laparca, but unable to close up enough to get an overtake done here on lap 34. And KTM Sweden now going side by side with Mivako, as they're dueling it out here for P9, P10. They're still side by side, as Mivako putting some pressure, and props to KTM. He's still keeping a nose in there, even with that end plate damage. Is he gonna try going side by side? No, it doesn't seem like it. I think he realized with that wing damage that might not end well with the lack of downforce he has. but this is also allowing Dark to close up as he got past Lorenzo. And Dark now, almost thought about lunging it down the inside, but just didn't quite have enough room on track. Goo rides the traction though, as he is really going to have to find that exit there. KTM Sweden, I think, does get the slightly better exit with that wider line, as that was a little bit of excitement for not much there. But this battle is really brewing here as we are starting the penultimate lap. But hang on a minute. Here comes Cohen now. He's going to try to push. Not much ERS to work with. Laparca on a near empty tank as well. So this is going to come down to the last 2 laps, I think, between Cohen and Laparca. But it might not matter. We've got a yellow flag, though, as who's falling down the order. That was Ephraim, having maybe a bit of a moment there into turn 1, as he is all the way down in 12th position. A costly mistake on the penultimate lap for Ephraim sends him down the order and promotes a few drivers up the grid here on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, as it is still Mark leading the way. He's got a bit more of a comfortable gap now than he's had. So Mark, with the 2 safety car restarts, really not being phased. He is really showing himself to be the king of Zandvoort here in Division 2, as he's only going to have to go around one last time. But Cohen here, so close to Laparca, as you're seeing on your screen. Is he going to get this overtake done here in the final stages? KTM Sweden and Mivako going side by side. Let's keep an eye out. Oh, there's some contact here. Dark almost got involved here, as everybody's so close. Nearly 2 by 2. KTM Sweden trying to force around the outside. And here comes Mivako trying to go around the outside into turn 1. KTM Sweden there. There's a little bit of contact from the other Ferrari behind. Gave a bit of a boost to KTM Sweden. Oh my goodness, that's Lorenzo going for a spin into turn 1. And that is Lorenzo now down in 12th. KTM Sweden up into 8th. Mivako in 9th. Dark in 10th. Ephraim back up into 11th there, so still outside of the top 10. We'll keep an eye out on that battle to see how it ends in a moment, but I'm still keeping an eye out on this podium here. Lap 36 out of 36. Mark leading the way. He's got a sector to go. He just needs to keep it on track for a few more corners, 2 to be precise. Laparca hanging on to that P2. Cohen in 3rd, but he might fall down the order unless Synchro creates an error. Synchro just going to have to keep that car on track. Here we go. Mark gets the victory. Laparca in P2, and it's Synchro getting the podium. Jordan in 4th. Cohen falling down to P5 here, as the rest of the order is crossing the line. It is Demorts in 6th, Elbiku in 7th, Mivako in 8th, KTM Sweden in 9th, Ephraim rounding out the top 10 after that late spin. Dark in 11th, and Lorenzo last across the line here after getting caught up in that last lap incident. But my, oh my, what a race that was here around Zandvoort, as the 2 safety cars really brought out a lot of action, a lot of overtaking, and a lot of drama here. But it is the Alfa Romeo who takes the top step of the podium. Mark gets the victory here, as we will see him celebrate the podium in just a few moments. But congratulations to the victor. Congratulations to Laparca and Synchro for sticking with it, getting those other 2 podium positions. You all definitely deserved it here in this race, keeping clean and not letting the frustrations of Zandvoort get to you here, and definitely well-deserved podiums from all of you. So we will go through the order one last time and jump into the post-race interviews here. Mark getting the victory from pole, Laparca in 2nd, Synchro rounding out the podium with Jordan in 4th, Cohen rounding out the top 5, Demorts in 6th, Elbiku in 7th, Mivako or Nole in 8th, KTM Sweden in 9th, and it is going to be Ephraim rounding out the top 10 with Dark in 11th, Lorenzo in 12th, Pot Getter in 13th, Chris Nerazuro in 14th, Simi in 15th, and Nazarus rounding out the top 16 here. That has been the order. That has been the Dutch Grand Prix. Now, I will take a moment, get some invites sent off so we can get into those post-race interviews and get some reaction from the podium, or from Mark and from Synchro here. So I will be back. I will get those. Invites sent off, and we can head into the post-race interviews very shortly. Alrighty, so as I got the invite sent off, I did see Mark joined in. So Mark, let us know. Can you hear us at all?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. So, congratulations here on the victory at Zandvoort. And from what I could see, qualifying on pole, essentially in first place the entire way through. A solid drive from you here. So take us through it, Mark. What were your thoughts here on this race?
So I know I was strong on this track, so just practiced a bit, got a good setup. Didn't do my best lap in qualifying, spun and got wing damage on my last run, so that wasn't ideal. Still got pole though. Got a good start. Just kept running to the race. Normally I didn't know my pace was as good as I thought, because I started getting a decent gap after on the first stint before the safety car. When the first safety car came out, I actually kept going because I had just passed the pit lane, but the gap I got was enough that I stayed first after I pit, so that was good. And then the second safety car was the last thing I needed, because I was on 2 warnings, and I know Laparta is someone who is very strong on not getting 1 warning or just not getting a penalty in general. That's how I lost the win to him in Britain. But yes, still, I was very scared in the last 5 laps after the safety car restart to get a penalty.
I see, and that was actually, I was going to ask that just as my second question for you there. So there were 2 safety cars, and both times you had Laparta stuck behind you. And were you nervous? I was about to ask, were you nervous at all through any point that Laparta, he might have actually had this one in the bag with an overtake and with a solid jump possibly off the safety car?
Definitely, he got a better start. Even though I was the leader and I was controlling the pace, my tires were colder than I thought, and he got the better jump on me. Almost overtook me in the first corner.
Yeah, but you made it work for you, so congratulations on the victory. And I'll move on here. I saw Synchro jumped into the party, got the invite. So Synchro, can you hear us at all?
Yes, I hear you.
Perfect. So I'm going to start by saying congratulations on the podium here. Maybe not on track, but you snagged it on penalties, but a podium's a podium at the end of the day. But talk us through it. What were your thoughts here post-race here on that race at Zandvoort?
It's a good race. I have a fun race. The Mark is in another rhythm. He goes away and never see him. But the 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the same rhythm. So it's difficult. I think it's a good race.
Yeah,
in the safety cars, I lost in the first. I lost time because of the double stack with the D-mods, but I can go and go and go. In the last laps, I see the driver have penalty, and I just leave. No overtake.
Yeah, so I guess I was gonna ask that as my second question. If you had seen the penalty, or at what point did you realize that you possibly had this podium in the bag? But I guess I was gonna ask, were you looking to possibly make that overtake on track? Maybe see if you can even try to close up to Laparta for P2, or were you comfortable with where you were, knowing that you had that podium under penalties at those stages?
Yeah, I have low fuel too in the final of the race, so I cannot put like push like I want.
Okay, now last question I'm gonna ask you, Synchro. So podium here today. Do we expect to see you? Should we expect to see you on a podium again here before the end of the season? Do you think you've got what it takes?
I will try.
You will try. There we go. There we have it. There. So that's the interview from the podium. And I mean, I saw Ephraim jumped in too. So for the sake of doing 3 interviews, Ephraim, are you here with us at all?
I'm here because I joined for Division 1.
Oh, joined for Division 1, so a little bit of an advance, but with Laparta, who doesn't necessarily jump into interviews here, he's let us know. I'll get you in on one. So Ephraim, P10 here on the timing tables, from what I noticed, maybe not the best outcome for you, but take us through it. Let's get your thoughts on this race here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had a very bad race. I lost my wing. I had a very good pace. I think I was matching the pace of Cohen and also Jordan at the time, but at safety car restart I stayed out. I was with the soft wheel. I had around 23%. So the other guys, they had a good advantage on me with those same tires. I think that it was a little bit also of a, let's say, not luck, because I had a spin in the first turn and I had around 80% of tire wear in the last corner. Until the last corner. So it was a little bit of a gamble.
Alright, now, I mean, just the last question I'm going to ask you there is, after maybe not having the race you're hoping for here today, where do you expect to see yourself next week once we take the streets of Singapore?
Definitely it's going to be a challenge, because I think that Singapore is one of the hardest and toughest tracks. There's a lot of walls, which they doesn't give much opportunity for the drivers to overtake, such as Zandvoort. But at least Zandvoort, you have a little bit of gravel. In Singapore, you have only walls. So all drivers need to be cautious and be careful, because we have DRS zones, but it's not enough. So we will see what's going to happen.
There we go. Word of advice leading into Singapore from Ephraim. But I think that'll just about do it for the stream here. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the race as much as I did. But don't go anywhere. In about 20 minutes' time, we will have Division 1 as they take their turn here around Zandvoort. And it's going to be a good one. You're not going to want to miss it. But until next weekend and until then, I've been Fallen Monkeys saying thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all under the lights in Singapore next week.